It's your boy Concert Viz 34 coming to you a little later than usual. I'm making a video, and before I beat the dead horse about this whole Sirius XM topic, this will probably be one of my last videos talking about it. But I find it to be a very interesting subject just because of some of the things that are going on and some of the trends that I've noticed. Many of you may have noticed some of these trends already. But I'll start off by just talking about something I noticed which was very odd. There's been two different bands essentially that have had Sirius XM takeovers, and it's not the first time they've done this. But what was interesting is to see the outrage from customers having certain channels interrupted on their feed. Now, this was not on every platform for SiriusXM, but I believe if you have a certain type, whether it's the receiver in the car or versus the actual app, and I believe you know one way or another you were affected by these temporary band themed radio channels or stations. But what shocked me is how many people were upset about the change and they wanted things to go back to the way they are. But it shouldn't have really shocked me because it really is a cornerstone of why SiriusXM still has 33 million subscribers and grew by about 300,000 subscribers since January, at least by that amount. And what it comes down to is members and subscribers for SiriusXM, they want the same old, same old. They want the genres they only like. They want the political news they only like. They want the sports talk that they only like or want to debate against if they really hate, like a Stephen A. Smith. People who subscribe to SiriusXM, for the most part, subscribe because they want the same thing over and over. Not the same songs, but they want the same ideas and concepts and flows from the channels that they seek to be their favorites. And this is something when we talk about the title of this Sirius streaming and then also growing your fan base, it's a tough choice for a band to make a long-term deal with SiriusXM for many reasons, but the number one reason to me is not just money, and for the labels, it's not just money, but it's about finding a way to grow your fan base and create fans that are going to be loyal to your cost off options you have. So, who are these bands that are making these short-term stays on Sirius? Well, we have the Dave Matthews Band going on what usually Venus Channel 3, and they have a DMB radio. And then you have Zach Brown Band, which has done this just like DMB's done it before. They are going on a station called, I believe it's, originally it was Y2 Country, and now it's the Highway. So back in last year, Y2 Country was a station they hopped on, and then this year I believe it's called the Highway. Now Zach Brown Band is only doing a week, it looks like, or short term, where DMB is doing something where they're doing this for a month and some change, depending on what happens here. But these bands are having short term stays, and what's happening is, like I said before, diehard fans of SiriusXM stations and the way they are and the consistency of them are very upset. And these fan bases, many of them have SiriusXM and have been wanting these stations to actually exist permanently for years. They are on the other side saying, hey, you gotta find a way to keep this Dave Matthews Band radio. You gotta find a way to keep Zach Brown Band radio. Both of these fan bases are like have these cult-like followings. Zach Brown sells out baseball stadiums. DMB used to sell out football and baseball stadiums, and they've stuck to amphitheaters, but they still sell a lot of tickets. But the fans of Zach Brown and Dave Matthews Band are demanding, hey, you gotta keep this station. I'm gonna make a petition online. I'm gonna cancel my subscription. But the issue is, the reason why these are short-term deals is because this is the marketing standpoint of what Zach Brown and DMB, those bands, are trying to do. They're not trying to create a long-term station. They're trying to create short-term buzz for either a new album. Zach Brown Band did this in 2017. Dave Matthews Band is doing this in 2018. And also, they want to create some buzz for you to go and see them this summer. Zach Brown has had many of their big shows past them already. Some of them are still to come, but the big ballparks that they've had so far, they've had some of those shows, and they have some more that are coming up, and they want to promote these and get people out. And DMB, same thing. They're promoting an album, but they also want to get people out to these shows. So that every Friday this month, they're having a live show be broadcast. I believe it's West Palm Beach. Yeah, West Palm Beach is going to be the show this Friday, which should be lit. And I'm looking forward to that. But their strategy is to create short-term buzz for familiar faces to these bands that are already subscribed to SiriusXM, to listen to them, be hyped up, to be reminded, putting it in their mind, strategically placing the band's music in their mind to make sure that they go out this summer and go to a show, or just get hyped up about the new album if it's DMB, to support the new album. But that's all that it is. It's a short-term marketing campaign by these bands to get passive fans. By passive fans, I mean they're not on the message boards. They're not following every breath of the band, but they are fans that have been to a lot of shows. They know a lot of the lyrics. They know a lot of the songs, but they have other stuff that's distracting them, other music, other things in their life. So they hear this SiriusXM channel on their way home, and they're like, "Oh, okay, let me think about going to a show." That's all the marketing is for satellite radio. And it doesn't mean satellite radio is going to go anywhere anytime soon. Again, to me, the way people are stuck in their ways to have this radio station be exactly the same every morning, every afternoon, every night. And if you listen to a bunch of this, you'll hear it's the same songs, but that's their bread and butter, giving the same stuff to a slightly older fan base. But that's all the marketing that you're going to get, is a short-term burst marketing like Zach Brown and DMB. The competition to getting long-term deals set up with artists, labels specifically, labels is the number one thing, because an artist could want to do something, but the label will say no. So setting up these deals with labels and individual artists is something we're seeing with streaming. So now we're done with Sirius for a second. We're going to talk about streaming. Streaming obviously is growing quickly. I am an Apple Music account holder. I have a free Spotify plan, and I have a temporary SiriusXM plan, which I probably will get rid of after DMB Radio, just to be honest. But for the streaming, what these artists are finding is the best way to get up on the come up. And instead of going to a radio station, your goal is to get people to binge listen to your music, and your other goal is to get on playlists, the Rap Caviars or the Hot 100 or the Beats One playlist. If you can get your music on this playlist, your trajectory as an artist, or your trajectory as an established band that needs to continue to grow, is going to drastically change. This is really the new, what used to be the radio station, is streaming. And what it is doing is it is allowing fans to be converted overnight. Just like I posted on my Twitter last night, I listened to Chris Stapleton for the first time last night extensively. I've heard some of his stuff here and there, clips and stuff. But already, I am a fan of this guy. I was listening to one of the last songs on one of his newer albums, which is like 30 minutes, which is awesome. I like short albums. But the point being is this last song is just stuck in my head, and I want to listen back to it. I want to listen to the album again. But this gives me the ability, Apple Music gives me the ability to binge watch, binge listen to this band, and then I'm going to see him, and I'll be engaged for his show when he plays at Farm Aid. That's why I started listening to him. So overnight, I can become a Chris Stapleton fan between July 24, 2018 and late September when I go to Farm Aid. That is great for a band, and it's just why they are giving away the house for exclusive content to the Spotifys and Apple Musics. They're giving away exclusive live albums to be released or to be streamed that they never released on any sort of digital service before, because you can grow fan bases overnight from streaming. You can't do that with SiriusXM because obviously they have playlists. Yes, their playlists um, do matter for people who like a certain genre. But we'll talk about in a second how these internet playlists on an Apple Music, on a Spotify, Rap Caviar is probably one of the greatest examples of this for Spotify. Getting on these playlists helps not only get the artist and label money, but it helps get that artist to sell out their next tour. And growing the fan base is the number one thing these artists want to do. They want to get more fans out to their shows because the shows make them money. They get them out to the shows, they'll buy t-shirts, they may even buy an album. But streaming allows someone to binge listen, become a fan overnight, and then they go to a show. They like that show, they go to another show. They tell their friends, bring their friends to the show, and you're growing your fan base just by allowing it to be streamed. No, by the way, every time someone streams your song or puts it on, even on YouTube, when they listen to it on YouTube, you're getting paid pennies, nickels, and dimes, and so is the label. So you're literally benefiting from the money that you get from the stream, and then that stream can turn into them going to your show, buying apparel, matching your style, buying your fragrance, 5 years down the road when they become a super fan, buying your cologne. That's amazing. And the other thing that we want to talk about with streaming is the playlists. So there are curated playlists from celebrities, from people that work at Spotify and Apple Music, and just everything in between. Individual fans can put playlists up. And you can share these playlists, you can search these playlists, and what these playlists do is you can listen to essential playlists for an artist, so you can get to know an artist, their best songs picked by fans, picked by experts at Apple or Spotify. That's one way. But the even bigger way is playlists based on genres on iTunes and Spotify. People are not even going on satellite radio, or they're not even going on Pandora anymore that much, although some people do. But young kids are literally playing playlists from Spotify, which can be free, and then Apple Music and Tidal. And these playlists are just played over and over. People just, oh, I like this. Oh, this week it's changed up a little bit. Sometimes these playlists are literally like a top 10 countdown, and people just listen to it in the background while they study. Well, guess what? If you have 500,000 people listening to this playlist every week and they're studying, that's 500,000 streams if your music is still popping enough to stay on this playlist. If your label pays, we don't know if this happens, if they pay Spotify or Apple Music or promote it, pay for promotion, which again, we can't prove this, but if that happens and you keep this on for 2 weeks, 500,000 people listening to this playlist once a week, that's 1 million streams. So this is a huge, powerful influencer, these playlists, into what gets streamed. Those streams count as sales, what's looking like it's selling, and then also what the average Joe is going to listen to when they want to hear a playlist. The Rap Caviar playlist has helped people like Russ, who he was on Everyday Struggle today, a rapper, how his song What They Want was on this playlist for a while, and it helped grow his fan base. They started seeing sales. And the other thing is, sales do matter. People look at sales. If you can get a single to go platinum or an album to go platinum, it does matter. And the other thing, especially in the hip hop genre, where sales are bigger than rock and R&B, you're seeing that albums are going platinum literally within the first 2 weeks because so many people streamed this single from the playlist and from the artist's library when it was a promoted single on iTunes or Spotify. So you're seeing that streaming is really the way to go for a band when they want to grow their fan base, when they want to get new listeners who are just going to do a Google search on their platform to say, Chris Stapleton, and you pull up all this music, Lil Yachty, and you pull up all this stuff. So these are the benefits. The streaming benefits really helps an artist 10 times more than anything that Sirius XM radio is going to do, anything that XM radio is going to provide to an up-and-coming artist. And matter of fact, the only artists that are really have permanent stations are established artists with a fan base that's already peaked. So, and even for those fan bases like DMB, Dave Matthews Band, that have peaked, and Zach Brown Band, maybe they're peaking, they may grow a little more in their artist life cycle. what do you want to go with long term? Who do you want to cut long term deals with? As a matter of fact, forget about you because you're minuscule in this process. What does your label want to do as far as cutting deals? Do they want to release all the horses on a Spotify deal, an Apple Music deal, and have all this exclusive content there? Or are they going to do something with SiriusXM where again there's less money per play than if you go on the streaming services, and then there's less exposure because people are pissed that the Venus Radio is now Dave Matthews Band Radio. And also, what fan base is going to make more of an effect? What's the bigger loss for the platform and for the artist? If a bunch of people say, you know what, I'm gonna cancel my SiriusXM plan because you didn't keep Dave Matthews Band or Zach Brown Band Radio. Well, guess what? It's not gonna really do that much. Matter of fact, the losses they take from not having you as a subscriber because you're mad they didn't keep Dave Matthews Band Radio, it's a cheaper loss than what they would have taken if they signed some outrageously priced deal to have 3 years of Dave Matthews Band Radio. Again, SiriusXM has to make money, and it's not profitable to pay an exorbitant amount of money for exclusive content because you're not guaranteed people are going to sign up for it. Where for Spotify, for Apple Music, but Spotify specifically, you don't have to worry about anyone signing up. If you cut a deal with Spotify, all the fan has to do is make a free account and stream it. You get commercials here and there. So this is why these stations are temporary. You can put all the petitions you want. You can say all about why you don't want this station to stay, but Spotify doesn't care. As long as their base stays, as long as they have the political channels that divide to people with different political views, the sports channels that divide to your sports views, and the musical channels that people stay stuck in their ways in a genre or a couple of different radio stations that they rotate around, that is how they benefit. That's how they have again, a growth of 300,000 people in 2018 when satellite radio is supposed to be much more deader than a growth in people subscribing. So Sirius is not going away anytime soon, Sirius XM, and neither is streaming. Streaming is only going to grow even more, but there's a lot more upside in having your music be binge streamed and on playlists on Apple Music, Spotify, and Tidal than it is to cut a deal with SiriusXM Radio to have an exclusive channel or to have exclusive content on SiriusXM Radio. It's your boy Concert. This was very boring and dry, but it's your boy ConcertViz34, and I'm out.